All right, so um, I'm going to make a series of videos on the great god of Babylon, Marduk. So he's the high god of ancient Babylonia and the Babylonian culture of Mesopotamia, and one of my favorite deities. And we're going to go over the deity. So that'll be our next deity description video. And I myself personally would like to start devoting myself to the god Marduk. I feel very closely connected to him, um, and I want to get back into Babylonian style polytheism. After I've It's been a long time since I practiced a Mesopotamian style polytheism. I took a long hiatus after practicing a like Hurrian slash Hittite slash Luwian style of polytheism for a while. Um, so let's get into this here. So Marduk, um, or Sumerian. So the Sumerian, let's see, cuneiform is Amar.utu. Um, Amar.utu.k. It means calf of the sun, or solar calf. That's interesting. Um, Marduk is a god from ancient Mesopotamia and patron deity of Babylon, who eventually rose to power in the first millennium BC. In Babylon, Marduk was worshipped in the temple Isagila. His symbol is the spade. So his symbol is the spade, and he is associated with the Mushushu. Now, the Mushushu it's a mythical creature, Mesopotamian creature. It's a hybrid creature. Um, it's got like, well, we could go over that in another video, like by itself. By the first millennium BC, Marduk had become astrologically associated with the planet Jupiter. He was a prominent figure in Babylonian cosmology, especially in the Enuma Elish, the creation myth, famous, creation myth, ancient Babylonian creation myth there. Um, so Marduk has a famous statue depiction from the 9th century BC. Not only is Marduk depicted, but also his servant dragon, the Mushushu. Um, and I guess that was Marduk's like main cult image in Babylon. I'll put it in the thumbnail. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a really cool looking cult image for sure. Um, so he's the high god of ancient Babylonia. Um, King of the gods. The name Marduk was solely spelled as, in cuneiform, Amar.utu in the Old Babylonian period, although other spellings such as Mes and Sa.zu were also in use since the Kassite period. In the first millennium BC, the ideograms shu and Ku were regularly used. The logogram for Adad is also occasionally used to spell Marduk. Texts from the Old Babylonian period support the pronunciation Marutu or Marutuk, with the shortened spelling Martuk or Marduk attested starting from the Kassite period. His name in Hebrew, Merodach, supports the longer version. The first millennium Assyrian and Babylonian texts employ the long spelling when the circumstances call for the precise form of the name. The personal name Martuku is not to be confused with the god Marduk. Okay. Marduk was commonly called Bel, which means Lord, in the first millennium BC. So, I think he was also called like Bel Marduk, like Lord Marduk, right? The etymology for the name Marduk is generally understood to be derived from Amar Utu Ak, meaning bull calf of Utu. Summerfield suggests this is used to explain the name Marduk in the Enuma Elish, as he is the son of the gods, radiant is he. While the name may suggest a relationship with the sun god Shamash, Marduk has no genealogy with the sun god. Right. However, Babylon was closely associated with the city of Sippar in this period, which may have been the reason for the name. So Sippar, of course, the famous city of the sun god Shamash, one of his patron cities there. So that was like a little introduction there. Then we go to his history. Now I'm going to split these videos up. I don't want to do each video too long each, because I'll just split them up into several sections if I have to. So let's see here. So let's start with 3rd millennium BC. So Marduk, along with the city of Babylon, was unimportant and sparsely attested in the 3rd millennium BC. The earliest mention to Marduk comes from a fragmentary inscription, most likely dating to the early dynastic II period. Now that is... Wow, that's still pretty early though, because that would be 2900 through like 2300 BC. Wow. It is left by an unnamed ruler of the city of Bar-ki-Bar, which likely is Babylon, who constructed a temple for Marduk. So already that far back, there's evidence of his worship. A text from the Farah period seems to mention Marduk without the divine determinative, and a fragment of a god list from Abu Salabik contains Utu Amar, likely Marduk, written with reversed sign order. A dubious reference to Marduk in the Ur-3 period comes from the possible personal name Amar Sin, is the star of Marduk. Although Johandi suggests that the god Martu, who appeared together with Enki and Damgalnuna, now that's Marduk's divine father and mother. In the Ur-3 period, could possibly refer instead to the similarly named Marduk, who is otherwise missing in Ur-3 documentation, as Martu is later attested to have a different parentage, which is the god Anu and the goddess Urash. And Marduk is later considered the son of Enki or Ea. It's really the god Ea, which is the Babylonian or Akkadian equivalent of Enki. If so, this could be evidence that Marduk was already part of the pantheon of Eridu, that's Enki's holy city, in the Ur-3 period. So, let's see here. So the dubious reference to Marduk. Let's see. I don't think Martu and Marduk are two completely different deities, so I don't know. All right, so we'll go through the section on the Old Babylonian period, and then we'll stop there, and we'll do the next part later. We'll do the next video later. This is just part 1. Under Sumu La'el, Marduk appeared in oaths and several year names. So Sumu La'el was a king in the first dynasty of Babylon. He reigned 1880 to 1845 BC. Okay. All right. So Marduk appeared under Sumu La'el in oaths and several year names, namely year name 22, which recorded fashioning a throne for Marduk, and year name 24, which recorded making a statue for Sarpanitu. Now that's Marduk's divine consort goddess. Marduk also started to appear in theophoric names, which would become more frequent in the following decades, but would remain rare, appearing in less than 1% of names, although it would grow to 1 to 2% under the king Hammurabi. During the reigns of Sabiam, Apil-Sin, and Sin-Muballit, Marduk started to be mentioned outside of the city of Babylon and was invoked alongside local gods in cities subject to the Babylonian kings. Starting from the reign of Hammurabi, sanctuaries to Marduk were found in other cities. In the Old Babylonian period, while Marduk is acknowledged to be the ruler of the people, there is no evidence that Hammurabi or his successors promoted Marduk at the expense of other gods. The god Enlil was still recognized as the highest authority, and Marduk was far from being the pantheon head, instead appearing to be a mediator between the great gods and Hammurabi. This is also expressed in inscriptions from Hammurabi's successor, Samsu-Iluna, expressing that he receives Enlil's orders through the other gods, such as Ishtar, Zababa, that's a warrior god, Shamash, and, of course, Marduk. A key development during the Old Babylonian period was the association of Marduk with the pantheon of Eridu. Marduk was syncretized with the deity Asalui in the later half of the Old Babylonian period, and the opening of the Code of Hammurabi identifies Ea as the father of Marduk, a genealogy that would remain canonical. God lists from the Old Babylonian period sometimes place him within the circle of Enki. Now, the Code of Hammurabi was a Babylonian legal text. It was composed during the 1755 to 1750 BC period, so a long time ago. TCL 1510 lists Asalui and Marduk as separate gods, but close together in the list. Lambert suggests that this may be an intrusion by another scribe, and that the editor scribe did so under the belief that Marduk and Asalui were the same god. Johandi, on the other hand, suggests that Marduk and Asalui were not seen as the same god, but were viewed to be related to one another. The Nippur god list also lists Asalui and Marduk separately, with Marduk appearing 70 names before Asalui. Wow. In the Weidner god list, however, it appears that Marduk and Asalui were viewed as the same god. Okay. So the Weidner god list was a late 3rd millennium, was originally from the late 3rd millennium BC, a long time ago. According to the Marduk prophecy and inscriptions of Agum II, the statue of Marduk and Sarpanitu were removed from Babylon by Mursili I. That's a Hittite king. Oh gosh. They were removed from Babylon by Mursili I during his raid on Babylon, circa 1595 BC, right? Okay. So, Agam II was possibly a Kassite ruler. Okay. Which was returned, so the statues were returned during the reign of Agum II. Okay, we'll end there for now, and this is just, like I said, just part one. This will be I think I can concentrate more on these videos a little better, like, just with my descriptions and reading all of this. Like, I think I can just concentrate on everything better, like if I just don't make these videos too long. That's what I'm going to be doing from now on with these. I don't want to like strain myself too long and just keep on reading for like a half hour. It's better if I just branch these out, for sure. So that's the first video on the high god of Babylon, of ancient Babylon, Marduk. And I'll be back with more parts to this here soon. As always, leave any comments or thoughts that you have below. And I'll be back with more of these soon.